go into session. If I could have all the board members. There you go. I would like to announce that a quorum is present. The meeting is duly called and notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. In order to maintain social distancing and other health protocols at public gatherings, a limited number of staff and community members will be in-person attendees at this evening's regular board meeting. The following board members are in attendance: Tracy Miller, Allison Lasan, Angie Cox, Christy Hassett, Jenny Prosnick, and Catherine Sells. We will now convene into closed session as authorized by Texas Government Code Section 551, specifically 551.071, 072, and 074. The time is now 6:06 p.m. We will now reconvene into open session, and the time is now 7 p.m. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge. Welcome to all. The Lewisville ISD Board of Trustees meets monthly to receive reports from staff and take action on recommendations from the superintendent. The board receives the agenda and all supporting documentation 10 days in advance of these regular meetings, which allows us to ask and receive answers to many of our questions. In addition, the board also meets in regularly scheduled workshops and work sessions where staff discussions and presentations are given for many of the agenda items. This protocol means lengthy discussions or a litany of questions on every agenda item often is not necessary, and as a board, we should have appropriate knowledge and preparation for responses regarding the content of our meeting tonight.
Ms. Sells, if I could take the liberty first off, as I know the trustees see all the different decorations across the room, and just want to make sure y'all understand how much you are appreciated, the amount of time and service that you give to our students, our staff, and our community. I know each of you well, and I appreciate the heart that y'all do that with, and so just once again greatly appreciate your service. We do have a short video, so.
Hi, LISD School Board. Thank you so much for all you do for us.
Can I get an L to the I to the S to the D? School Board, a trustee. Give and credit where credit is due. Our schools are the best because of you.
The Lewisville ISD School Board fosters an environment in which students and teachers can best thrive.
I really appreciate how the Lewisville School Board speaks up for education and shines a light on the great things that we're doing in the public education system.
Thank you for supporting schools, students, and staffs.
Thank you, School Board, for making this a good year.
Thank you, Lewisville ISD Board of Trustees.
We appreciate your service to our schools, district, and community.
Thank you for all you do, LISD School Board.
You're awesome.
LISD Board, thank you for your thoughtfulness and your continued support of staff and students.
Thank you, Lewisville ISD School Board.
Thank you, School Board, for all you do. Really appreciate it.
This has been one of the most challenging years we have faced as educators, and knowing we have such a hardworking and devoted support system motivates us to keep going each day.
It's been a school year like none other, and we staff and our students feel so cared for and heard by y'all.
Thank you to the school board for making all the adjustments needed this year.
Thank you for everything that you've done to make sure that our year goes well.
You've done such a wonderful job, especially during these times, to ensure that our students continue to get the best education that we can.
We appreciate your service to our schools, district, and community.
Thank you for your service to our school.
Thank you, LISD School Board. We appreciate all of the hard work and dedication and hours you have put in this year and every year for our community and our schools.
I would like to extend a huge heartfelt thank you to the LISD School Board for all of their hard work and service that they have put in to make this district one of the best in the state of Texas.
Thank you, LASD School Board, for supporting our schools, students, and staff.
Thank you for all you do. Thank you.
And we do appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, School Board.
Well, on behalf of my other colleagues that are standing here with me, I just want to say thank you. It was overwhelming. In my mind, I thought, oh, with COVID, the posters aren't going to happen. I don't know if anybody else had that thought, but I thought, oh, how are they going to do the posters? How will they get them up here? I will tell you, I think this is more than ever. And I know you can't see if you're watching us online, but they are all around this room. They're on the front of some of our staff's desks. They were up where we ate our dinner right before our meeting today. And I am just overwhelmed. Each year I am. I forget kind of that January is that. And after coming into the new year, this is always such a blessing. Everyone up here, their heart is for kids, and kids are first. And this is just, this acknowledgement of the work that we do is overwhelming, at least for me, and I'm sure it is for my colleagues. So we just want to say thank you so much. Okay, we'll move on in the agenda. Our first up is Dr. Rogers.
Thank you, Ms. Sells. Board members, just one note, of course, next Monday is MLK Junior Holiday. I did want to make it clear that while we're not having our typical MLK celebration in person, we still have a great virtual event planned, thanks to the work of Dr. DeVudy and his committee and Mr. Plunkett. And so I know if you haven't, you will receive an invitation to attend that. This is actually the 28th annual MLK Junior celebration held in LISD. So I wanted to make mention of that. So if you notice in the agenda, it's now called the superintendent update. I figured before Ms. Hassett asked me to do it that I'd add a legislative update monthly since, the Texas legislature is going in session beginning tomorrow. So here we go. Wrapping up the first semester, I just couldn't say enough about the great work that the folks in this room and our staff across the district have done. In really difficult times, they've made it look pretty simple, and that's because of their heart just to serve our students, and that's really what this is all about. We're going to recognize them later, but just in a time that a lot of school districts did not participate in UIL state marching contests, I'm extremely proud that LISD, thanks to the leadership of Ms. Drinkwater and our band directors, decided to go ahead, and in a tough year, they still excelled with, second, third, and fourth place. So just amazing achievement. So the monthly COVID-19 update, we had our weekly Denton County call, our Zoom meeting today. You can see that there are 13,600 plus active cases in Denton County. You can see we've had 233 deaths, tragedies in Denton County. Probably the greatest thing that is not up here, but that we heard today in our call, was as of yesterday, there were only 4 ICU beds in all of Denton County available. And that's the concern, something that they closely monitor if you pay attention to the news. The ventilator usage, as you can see, all those types of things are tracked. I wanted to talk for just a minute. Dr. Richardson, the head of Denton County Public Health, talked today about vaccination phases. I actually asked a question about, we get a lot of questions from our staff. Okay, teachers are part of phase 2 and then tier 1 or tier A, all right? So 2A, and so right now they're focusing still trying to finish up 1A and of course 1B, and so they were given the numbers, like last week, Denton County received 1,100 vaccines, and they gave like 1,000 shots. For this week, they've received 3,500, which of course is great. But when you think about the numbers, and I asked the question, I said, Dr. Richardson, it would be my guess in Denton County that there's probably a 250,000 folks that meet the criteria of 1B. And he said, well, actually, Dr. Rogers, it's 306,000. And so at the pace that we're working, 3,000 a week just to take care of 1B is not going to. And so they did have some good news. Denton County officials had been working with our legislators to get Denton County called a vaccination depot, which means they can do large scale, and they're actually doing 3,000 people this Thursday in one day, and they are keeping them all in their cars, which provides some logistical issues because after you get the vaccine, you have to hang around for 15 minutes to make sure you didn't have a negative reaction. So those are some of the logistical things. But I asked the question, is it, do you see that for our teachers, do you see any way that it's going to happen before 4 to 6 weeks? And they said no. They said really 4, 6 to 8 weeks is probably the soonest as far as in Denton County for our teachers. They reminded us that, the federal government, when they rolled out the vaccination plan, they've turned to both private entities, the CVSs, the local clinics, because they have a supply, and of course to health departments. And so they recommended that people in general, our teachers, our 65 plus, that they use every entity they can to try to find the vaccine. The good news is that once you get the vaccine, they say that research shows that even just the first phase of the vaccine will provide probably 75% coverage, which is much better than even the annual flu shot that we receive. So I promise you we'll continue to pay attention to that. So once again, I greatly appreciate the work of Denton County Health Department. As far as LISD by the numbers, we certainly are seeing a surge, particularly starting today and late last week regarding the calls to our COVID call center. But we've had, as of last Friday, 61 new student cases and then 15 new staff cases. We expect that to increase. It's already increasing because really into probably the middle of next week, we'll sort of see what happened over the holidays. Some good news, Melanie Vincelette, our Director of Health Services, we've already had 50 of our nurses vaccinated, and that's great, and we have 30 more. Most of those vaccinations are being done at the Flower Mound Fire Department, and so we greatly appreciate that. And Melanie's also working with Passport Health, who also do our vaccination clinics. And then last Thursday, we had a record number of calls into our COVID call center, more than 400 just in one day. So our folks are busy and, busier than ever before. And so we'll continue to monitor that. We pay attention daily to what the numbers are, whether or not we have substitutes to cover classes, whether or not we have to put some other plan into place. Some information from Employee Services. A lot of this is shared with you, but we have 111 staff that are working remotely due to documented medical conditions. We have still some open positions, as you see, and every time we fill a support position and we cut down the number, then someone else resigns, and so it's sort of a endless thing. We, thanks to your assistance, of course, have the permanent subs, which really has probably been our salvation this year, having these full-time permanent subs at all campuses. And then you can see the overall substitute fill rate, and so we know that we're taking a hit on that, but our principals have just done yeoman's work trying to make sure classrooms are covered. And then talking about the monthly legislative update, of course, the 87th session starts tomorrow, 140 days. You know, there's that sort of joke that, you know, it's sort of good that our legislature only meets every other year. But you know, they've got a lot of work to do. And they've inherited a tough deal as far as trying to figure out budget. That's absolutely one of their required things that they have to do. We got some good news today in that the comptroller, you know, the day before the session starts, has to give a biennium estimate of how much money they have, and actually it improved by nearly $3.5 billion from July. And so you can see, though, that the estimate is $112.5 billion for the biennium. 2 years ago, it was 119. So, you know, it's still $7 billion less than what happened before the last legislative session. But the good thing is the deficit's only a little less than $1 billion. Like I said, it was estimated to be 4.6 in July. And with the state cuts of 5%, you know, they think it's probably close to a wash. So that's much better news than what we had thought. Still something we've got to absolutely pay attention to. Don't know if you know, TA sort of tried to slide this in, but you know, TA is ending its contract for STAR testing with ETS, and will keep Pearson and is changing to Cambium. They're paying the two companies about $318 million. The interesting part is their goal is to try to go to online testing by 22-23. And then today, I know Sean Sheehan had the opportunity to listen to a Texas Tribune interview with the presumptive Speaker of the House, so we will know that more tomorrow. And that's Dade Phelan from Beaumont. And anyway, it'll be interesting times down in Austin. Some noteworthy state bills. One, Senate Bill 215 creates an Office of Inspector General at TA. That position, if that's approved, actually has subpoena power, so that'll be interesting. House Bill 613, Hinojosa would make the Education Commissioner an elected position. House Bill 749 and Senate Bill 234, these folks have been at this before. Still want to restrict the use of public funds by political subdivisions for lobbying activities. And I'll just make note, it's really interesting to me about this, since Texas has its own lobbyists in Washington, but I'm not sure how that they pay for that, except for state funds. But anyway, House Bill 589, Gonzalez, requires boards to adopt policies that ensure counselors spend 80% of their total work time on duties specified, specifically related to counseling. And then House Bill 382. There's hundreds of bills already pre-filed. Reminder, in a normal legislative session, there's about 6,000 bills filed, and about 900 or 1,000 actually get to committee and get. And then I know for on the U.S. Congress side, they did, of course, pass the additional COVID relief package in late December, and that does earmark $57 billion to K-12 schools across the U.S. And the previous CARES Act actually earmarked $13 billion. So it's a lot of money. Of course, it's going to be interesting to see what our state does regarding supplant versus supplement. My argument, and I hope our board and our community's argument is, about this second half of the year regarding hold harmless funding, is you are about to receive billions of dollars more from the federal government. If that doesn't allow you to help hold harmless school districts in funding, I'm not for sure what does. But it'll be an interesting discussion. So that's all I've got. I'll take any questions you might have.
Do any of the trustees have any questions for Dr. Rogers? I see none. Thank you for that report. Up next is our recognitions and our student spotlight. Chief Communications Officer Amanda Brim will now share with us this month's recognitions and student spotlight.
In December, Hebron and Flower Mound High School bands marched away with second and third place at the 2020 6A UIL State Marching Band Contest. The competition was held at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, featuring 20 qualifying band programs from across the state. Both programs have previously earned notable distinctions at the UIL State Marching Band Contest. Flower Mound High School earned the 6A State Championship title in 2016 and the silver medal in 2018. The Hebron Band previously earned the silver medal in 2016, 2014, and 2012. The Hebron Band is led by Director of Bands Andy Seeley, and the Flower Mound Band is led by Director of Bands Brent Biskup. What an impressive achievement. Congratulations.
Hello, this is Andy Seeley, Director of Bands at Hebron High School. I'm so proud of our students in the Hebron High School Band. I'm proud of their resiliency, adaptability, and most importantly, their resolve in the face of uncertain and challenging circumstances. Their determination and work ethic are an inspiration to me, and I'm so thankful to have shared this journey with them. On behalf of the students and staff of the Hebron High School Band, I'd like to personally thank Dr. Rogers, Ms. Drinkwater, the Board of Trustees, and Ms. Bowden and the entire Hebron administrative team for their support and encouragement of our band program. Thank you for affording our students opportunities for development, growth, and performance during this time in our community. Thank you also for making time this evening to acknowledge our students' accomplishments.
Congratulations to the students in the Flower Mound Band on really a truly incredible accomplishment. Your perseverance all year was amazing, dealing with, to say the least, challenging circumstances. And we're so proud of all of your efforts and the work that you put in to put together a performance that hopefully all of you are very proud of. We definitely are as a teaching staff. I want to take a moment to thank Dr. Rogers for his incredible support and help through this whole process. The entire district has been nothing short of amazing to make sure the students are set up for success. And I also want to take a moment to thank the LISD School Board for everything they've done and their support of the students and the programs. Congratulations again. Thanks so much.
And Ms. Sells and Board, I'd be remiss, of course, we don't normally recognize the fourth place, but as you saw a while ago, Marcus High School won fourth place. So I tell you, it is a testament to our directors and the flexibility and adaptability that our student musicians have. I mean, the things they went through to pull this off is really just amazing. And so just kudos to all of them.
Yes.
One really quick thing is when other trustee friends around the state find out that we're at a competition, they tell me, oh no. So I find that a point of pride when they're shaking in their boots.
Yes, I think that we probably all got text that day when they saw that we were all those three schools were there, that they were just lamenting that we would have success, and we did. And for those of us that watched it that day, it was amazing. It truly was. So congratulations.
The Texas Music Educators Association awarded the Colony High School principal, Dr. Tim Baxter, with the honorable distinction as a TMEA Distinguished Administrator. Each year, TMEA recognizes upper-level school administrators across the state who have been instrumental in preserving quality music education programs on their campus and in their district. In October, the Colony High School Band presented Dr. Baxter with the award during the halftime of the TCHS varsity football game. LISD appreciates Dr. Baxter for his continued support and contributions to the TCHS students, staff, and community. Congratulations, Dr. Baxter.
Congratulations, Dr. Baxter. On behalf of the LISD Fine Arts Department, we appreciate everything you do for the Colony High School's music programs and so much more. Special thanks to Dr. Rogers and our LISD Board of Trustees for acknowledging one of our district's amazing administrators.
And that's it. And congratulations to Dr. Baxter also. And next up is persons desiring to address the Board of Trustees must have filled out a speaker's card. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes. There will be a clock up, and I will be giving you an indication when that 3 minutes is up. The board cannot deliberate on any subject that is not included on the agenda. Dr. Rogers, did you have something first?
Yes, Ms. Sells, thank you. I first wanted to take a few minutes and recognize our new Director of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Matthew Morris is here in the audience, and so I'd like to ask Matthew to come up and be recognized, and we absolutely welcome him to LISD. So.
Very good. We welcome you. Glad you're here. Our first speaker up is Lauren Lucio.
Hello. On the behalf of Lewisville High School and Student Council, we would like to thank you for all you have done this year. We are just very appreciative of everything, especially under the circumstances which we have come past through. Thank you. Please take these gifts as an appreciation.
Thank you, Lauren, and the LHS DUCO for those gifts. Next to speak is Jonathan Ball.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Ball. I live on Poplar Drive in Flower Mound. My children attended Donald Elementary, Flower Mound Elementary, Downing Middle School, and Marcus High School. More importantly for tonight's meeting, I teach English at Marshall Durham Middle School. My purpose for attending tonight is twofold. First, I want to thank the board and Dr. Rogers for all you've done and continue to do for the students, staff, and community during this challenging time. Your vision, leadership, and commitment is not unnoticed. You have provided a steady, calm response to an incredibly difficult situation. I appreciate you. I would also like to bring to light a situation that is affecting not only myself, but other teachers and employees in LISD. Before I do that, I want to look back at the past 3 years of instruction, specifically to on-campus requirements of contracted time at the middle school level. In 2018-2019, teachers at the middle school level were expected to be on campus from 8:25 until 4:30 p.m. In 2019-2020, 10 minutes were added to our contracted time. Teachers at the middle school level were expected to be on campus from 8:15 until 4:30 p.m. In our current school year, 2020-21, 25 more minutes were added to our contracted time. My current contracted time is 8:05 a.m. until 4:45 p.m. I understand the rationale behind this. I understand the expected goals of this. And I think this has been a success as far as mitigating contact and limiting the spread of COVID. 25 minutes may not seem like much, but on top of an already long and difficult day, and now with all the COVID demands put upon me, it adds up very quickly. Please consider for every 20 instructional days I work, I will have worked an extra 500 minutes, more than 8 hours. Based on that, at the end of the school year, I will have worked the equivalent of approximately 10 unpaid instructional days. I realize that Dr. Rogers and the board do not have the luxury of a crystal ball. No one knows where the virus will take us. I hope we do not have to close at all, much less a lengthy closure due to COVID. If we make it to the end of the school year without a major closing, I would like for the leaders of this great district to consider one of the three things. 1, pay the teachers, staff, and administrators and support staff for these extra days at our daily rate. 2, work in extra days off at the board's discretion to give us back these days. Or 3, some combination of options 1 and 2. Obviously, if we were to close and lose days, we would have different numbers to work with. But I would like to think you understand my intentions. Let me be clear, this is not a money grab or sour grapes regarding my working conditions. I love my job, I love my students, and I love this district. I'm just asking to be compensated fairly due to these significant changes. Respectfully.
Thank you, Mr. Ball. Those were all of our speakers, and so we will move on into our consent items. Ms. Cox, I thank you for your email, and I believe you are wanting to pull.
Yes, Ms. Sells, I'd like to pull 2B1.
Are there any others to pull?
Yes, Ms. Sells, I'd like to pull 1C.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that I had them in my mind correctly. Okay. I'm going to ask if someone would make the motion.
I move that the board approve consent agenda items as recommended by administration with the exception of the following pulled for separate consideration, 2B1 and 1C.
Thank you, Ms. Hassett. Do I have a second? Ms. Cox, thank you for that second. Is there any discussion on the other items that are left for consent? Seeing none, we'll vote. All in favor, if you'd raise your hand or say aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Ms. Cox, would you like to make the motion on your pulled?
Yes, I move that the board approve consent agenda item renewal of RFP 256918 special events products and services.
Do I have a second on that? Ms. Hassett, thank you. Would you like to speak to your motion, Ms. Cox?
Yes, this is in regards to, I guess, the annual employee banquet, if I'm correct. So I would just like to know, I know we've probably put a deposit down, so what does that look like if the event is not possible? Will the district lose money? What are our dates that we have to extend that to? And do we have a hold on both places?
So as you can imagine, that's been something that we've been trying to stay on top of and kind of crystal ball what April, the end of April is going to look like. And I think that leadership team has kind of come to the conclusion that probably not a great idea to have 1,000, of our best and longest tenured people in one facility at the same time. So we are looking at not having the event in person this year. We just spoke with the hotel today. The Hyatt is where we were scheduled to have it this year. And we pushed them a little bit on we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and how are you going to, work this out for us? And Liz Haas did a great job kind of working through the details with them. And what we have found out is that if we cancel soon, this weekish, Denton County still has a capacity limit on those facilities of 50%, so they cannot accommodate our banquet. Therefore, we have cause to cancel that event, and the district would not be out any money. And we literally just found that out today. So we felt good about that. The deadline for, we would have to pay 70% of our revenue commitment, which is $55,000. So if we don't cancel before February 22nd, prior to what we found out today, the district would be on the hook for about $39,000. So we've kind of gone back and forth on what the options may be. They were gracious enough to say, hey, if you can reschedule it in 2021 at any point, which maybe give us an option for the fall to do something, that they would let us reschedule and we wouldn't be out any money. So those were kind of late developments today on the possibility of just outright canceling it. And then we could always come back around if the board administration felt like doing something in the fall was an appropriate thing to do. So we've been hammering on that to try to make sure that we were getting our money's worth out of whatever we were going to do, because we know that that's important. So
yeah, and just one, I think it's Dallas County, right? Not Denton County, right?
Yes.
Okay, it's Dallas County rules are what's going to protect or help us in this situation, but it is something that, we've been discussing. I've written about it, or Amanda's written about it in the board letter, that we know that we're coming up to a deadline, and, we've had every kind of discussion. Is there something separate we could do for retirees versus everyone else, and so, we'll continue to have those discussions, but I sure don't think that it's wise, for us to be on the hook for $40,000, $50,000. And while I'd love, I'm an optimist. I used to be an eternal optimist until this year, but I just don't know that the late April circumstances are going to change enough for us to have 1,000 people in the same room. And so, anyway, so.
Does anyone have any other comments? Mr. Miller?
Yes. So I think it's a good call out, right? It's a lot of money. Looks like we might be able to get around it. I would love to see us come up with a program where we can utilize some of this money for the program, right? Even if it's virtual. It's been a tough year. I think we can find plenty of ways to utilize just the money that we're talking about here for the venue. Second thing is, I would like to reiterate that the board play a bigger role in the board's recognition of employees. So in other words, we have a bigger say versus just an equal say of amongst 6 or 8 players. So as we look at how we're going to do recognition, that the board would actually, we'd go back to kind of the way it used to be, where the board actually played a significant role in the selection of the finalists. So allocating the money towards our employees for recognition, and the board playing a role in the board's banquet for the employees, that we play a bigger role in that.
Does anybody have any other comments? Can I ask Ms. Brim, if you all did do a virtual, how long did you all work on that last year?
Well, I mean, I think it became apparent to us in, mid-Marchish that we weren't going to be able to have a banquet. So, I mean, we turned it around in about 4 weeks. I would not want to do that again if we can, if we
avoid
cannot.
it.
That was not unlike what everybody else was experiencing with creating an airplane while we were flying it. So, my recommendation would be that we make the call on that pretty soon, and to give everybody notice and to give us time to kind of figure out how we can do something, even above and beyond what we did last year, which I thought went really well, but we're always going to look for ways to one-up ourselves. So, my recommendation would be to make the call soon and then look for other opportunities like Dr. Rogers mentioned of Can we recognize retirees in a different way? Can we plan something, for the fall to recognize the honorees that are still in the district? That kind of thing. We could then start, flip over to that type of planning.
Okay, thank you for that.
Well, could I make a point of order?
Yes.
On the motion then?
Yes.
We don't want to approve this. If we have the ability to get out of it, why wouldn't we decline this?
This is for the future.
This is for the future, just
Next year?
and there's several venues as
Yeah.
as
Oh, we were
options.
looking
So,
at the-
yeah, this is future, not just
Okay.
this is not this year. You've actually already approved this year's.
So we play no, I mean, it's up to you guys whether you cancel at this point.
Well, we wanted to hear your
Oh, I know.
input. I mean, it
Okay.
is your function, but
I mean, this is really about next year. As it relates to this year, it's up to you guys.
this is just simply the board approving future venues to be discussed.
And this is not the contracts for those venues. This is just approving, looking into these venues. But I think it was I know it was a couple of our questions in board book also, but along Ms. Cox's questioning was how much we kind of wanted to know where we stood in the budget and moving forward for next year, if that was going to determine one of these two places too. It was just kind of clarification for our parts. So, yes. So, okay. So no more questions or discussions from the board. Let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously, 6-0. Thank you. Now, Ms. Prosnick, would you like to make a motion on your pulled item?
Yes. I move that the board approve consent agenda item 1C, approval of CTE innovative courses as recommended by administration.
Thank you, Ms. Prosnick. Do I have a second? Ms. Hassett, thank you. Would you like to speak to your motion, Ms. Prosnick?
I pulled this mainly to highlight it more than anything else because I think that we talk about our limitless opportunity as it's written up here, and I really commend our CTE department for coming up with these courses and offering them. I'm going to.
Did you list the courses?
Yes, that's what I was.
Okay.
I was getting ready to scroll down to them. For these are some courses that would be approved by TA and desired to be added to Tech West, which is an ag leadership, research, and communications, the foundations of restaurant management, and introduction to event planning and meeting. Perhaps they can do our event. The industry-based certification that can be expanded to students will be, courses will allow us to continue offer the certifications on the Surface Safe Manager in our culinary and hospitality programs, as well as an introduction to multiple certifications in our ag program that count for a CCMR. And there's more, but what I wanted to say on that is a certification makes it far more meaningful than just completing a course. A certification says to a future employer that they don't have to provide that certification at a cost to them, but it also says that they are getting a trained employee and they're not going to have to do that. And so I think that makes them far more desirable to hire. In our incubator program, entrepreneurship, practicum in entrepreneurships, and there will be certifications associated with that in our incubator program that we already have at LHS and that we will be having at the Colony High School as well. And more courses, if that wasn't enough for you, a marketing program, applied nutrition and dietetics, and the fundamentals of real estate, which will also have a certification. And I cannot tell you how proud I am to be part of a district that's going to be offering that. And one of the reasons I wanted to pull it was so that it was made aware, because we can offer the courses, but if the courses don't make, if enough students don't enroll in them, they won't happen. And I really hope that some good information goes out to students and to parents so that when planning our schedules for next year, that students will see that these opportunities are there for them. I just really wanted to tip my hat to the CTE department and kind of to us as a district for offering this for our students.
Thank you, Ms. Prosnick. Is there any other questions or comments about that? Mr. Miller?
I'll just add on to Ms. Prosnick. So, as many of you know, in the last couple weeks, there was an article that came out to talk about basically VOTEC. And I know I put it out on most of the city sites, and I'm going to be honest with you. I took it down from the city of Lewisville when some crazy people started commenting on things that really had nothing to do with the extreme value of that on a national level. That said, we received a lot of kudos for what we're doing, you know, the different programs. But I think there's opportunity, Jason, always opportunity for us to continue to market that, right? So it's an inside game that our counselors are continuing to put this in front of students as an option and parents, that is more visible. Many people's comments are often legacy comments or where they grew up in Wisconsin or Ohio. But I do think that this is one where often it's not fully understood and therefore appreciated, these 15, 16 clusters. In other words, we offer almost everything available by TEA and the SBOE. And, Ms. Hassett, her sons have done some great things in this. We've seen their work. I got this dinosaur that's a whole nother thing. But there's some great things, and I think we just need to figure out a way to tell the story over and over again with these classes. I mean, when you go see the dummies, and I'm not talking about me, but the things that you use, to do medical treatment, and it is amazing. And I think we should continue to have events, talk about it, be more specific, let the experts do a, cluster of the week or cluster of the month. It's just phenomenal what's there that can make a difference in the lives of a lot of students who are not going to go to A&M or even Judson College or UNT, right? They're just not. It's a great thing for us and the surrounding communities. These create jobs right here. Remember 3 or 4 years ago, the kids that went to the car dealership, 6 or 8 kids, and the amount of money they were making? Think about that. When you graduate college, you're not making that kind of money. So I'm jumping on it. Let's just keep selling this. It's a great thing.
Yes, it's very exciting. For a lot of people that don't know, my last 2 years of undergraduate college, I sold real estate. It was something that I could pay my bills. It paid more than minimum wage, and it was something I had to pay and become licensed to do myself. And so I did that, and I can't imagine. So I was so excited to see that on there, because I know that if you put the work into that, you can make a living that is a good living. You can pay for your apartment. You can continue your education just as I did. And so all of these things are just remarkable, and thank you guys for highlighting them. Appreciate it. Ms. Hassett? Ms. Hassett?
Ditto, first of all. But then I did have a follow-up question that I asked earlier on the incubator programs. So our original incubator programs require 60-ish plus volunteers. How many more volunteers will the additional programs take, and can they be used for both?
Yeah, I'm going to ask Mr. Cooper to come on up to answer that question. The difference, Jason, too, between what's required for Entrepreneurship 1 versus 2 from a volunteer perspective, and the practicum.
So the Entrepreneurship 1 and 2 will be used as basically feeder courses. So as to build that pipeline and that program of study, the practicum and entrepreneurship will actually be the single course that will be used for incubator. So right now we currently have Entrepreneurship 1 on the campus. So this will be able to stack a Entrepreneurship 2 on top of it to continue to build that interest. So then that junior year they can enter into the incubator program. So that's the difference between the Entrepreneurship 1, 2, and then the practicum and entrepreneurship.
So how many volunteers are needed between 1, 2?
So the entrepreneurship course doesn't necessarily need the volunteers. That can be offered at all of our high schools. So all of our high schools right now offer Entrepreneurship 1. Then now they'll all be able to offer Entrepreneurship 2. The practicum and entrepreneurship, that's what we're going to use for the incubator.
I think Ms. Hassett, if I remember right, listening to Jason present to Chambers and Bill Lee, is it takes 60 to 75 volunteers per incubator. And can they overlap? Yeah, but it's a lot of time required according to which one of the two things that you fill in as a volunteer. But we're grateful for the City of the Colony's support on that, and the Colony Chamber for really stepping up and making sure that happens.
Okay, is there anything else? Okay, if none, we'll go ahead and vote on Ms. Prosnick's agenda motion. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously, 6-0. Thank you all. Moving on to information items. Student learning update, Dr. Rapp.
Yes, Madam President, I'm going to ask Dr. Fitzhugh to come up to the podium, and she'll provide our presentation this evening on the student learning piece.
Okay, good evening, everybody. This is our second update this year that we're providing. Tonight, we're going to look at some of our middle school and high school readiness dashboards. Just as a reminder, this is part of our district improvement plan that talks about ensuring that learning is based on defined standards. The readiness dashboards tonight, we're going to talk about the current data and also future development processes for them. So again, just a little bit of background information. We joined part of an organization called AASA Redefining Ready to help develop some of the metrics that we're embedding into these dashboards. Those metrics include attendance, discipline, academic data, grades, advanced course, and then some various testing data pieces. So starting with our middle school one, just as a reminder, students need to meet the attendance, the grades, the discipline, and then one of the two remaining indicators, PSAT 8 or advanced course participation. Data refreshes overnight for attendance, discipline, and advanced courses. Grades refresh at the 9 weeks, and then PSAT 8 is dated annually. So we've hit a little bit of a snag due to COVID. I feel like that's the common element in every presentation. Some of our timelines are a little bit off, and also when we created new pathways, we kind of had to recalibrate and remap all of the data in the dashboards. So currently, today was a big day. I'm going to tell y'all we have dug in for 6 weeks, and we figured out one of our data flaws, and so I got to call an audible and update the slides, so I felt really good about myself. And really, it's Kathy Bray who should feel really good because she really did a lot of legwork with it. But here is the middle school dashboard right now. One of the pieces, so our overall ready there reflects how many of the students are meeting those criteria that we discussed on the previous slide. Attendance, that's pulling in overnight how many of our students are here and have met the criteria. Discipline, it's how many students have out of placement and have not had out of placement in the last 2 9 weeks. Grades, that's having a C or greater in all of their core courses. PSAT, we have not administered PSAT yet. Well, we have administered, we don't have the results back yet from our 8th graders, and because College Board extended that window, I'm not really sure when we're going to get the results in. It might be February this year, but we're waiting on it. So that data right there, the green is the 6th and 7th grade that haven't taken it. It should be grayed out. We're working on getting that tweaked. But the red is the 8th grade that's just not showing up yet. We don't have the data. The advanced course one is the one that changed. So when we created virtual pathways, all of our course codes for our advanced courses changed. We had the in-person advanced courses, and now we have virtual advanced in courses. So we had to pull all of those new course codes and get them to feed into this dashboard correctly so that it would count it right. So that's why it took a little bit of legwork to figure out. And so after a few weeks of going through it and looking at all of it, we finally have what we feel is a pretty decent, we're still tweaking a few things, but that's the % of our students in middle school that are enrolled in advanced courses. So just a little bit piece here, our grades, we're having to do some tweaking with that because the students have moved between teachers, virtual and in person. There's been a little bit of a disconnect, so we're having to make sure all of our grades are aligning correctly. And so that's a piece that we're currently working on. The advanced courses, we got that fixed today, and then again the PSAT 8. So moving forward, we're looking at expanding those middle school readiness dashboards. One of the problems that we've really struggled with is that not having enough metrics and the different pieces to really show students lots of pathways. So in working with the Redefining Ready, they're kind of looking at what do the college and career readiness look like going back. And some of the things that they've brainstormed and they're looking at incorporating are engaged in extracurricular and co-curricular, what we've decided we're going to start with that is looking at if they're enrolled in a course that has that piece embedded, and then we're going to work on getting the ones that aren't course related at a later date. Exploring post-secondary opportunities, students reporting positive relationships with at least one adult, well-being and engaging in curriculum about well-being, and then 10 hours of community service. We don't have ways to measure all these. We're still working on them, but several of them we have a plan, and we're going to branch out into that moving forward. Okay, the high school readiness dashboard. Again, lots of opportunities for us to recalibrate some things on this dashboard right here. College readiness looks at a student's GPA and then meeting one additional academic criteria. Career readiness is based on discipline, attendance, and then identifying a career path. And then the reality is all of these kind of really focus on the later years of high school, and so that's that piece that we need to remap down to the 9th and 10th grade. So again, virtual pathways kind of wreaked a little bit of havoc here, and so we are having to work through, just like we got the middle school ones up, we're having to work through all those high school pieces. The other thing that happened this year was TEA realigned how we report CTE. So the codes that we were using to say that students were in CTE courses no longer exist. So we're having to take the CTE courses and map them into this. And that's fine because it's all about a pathway, but it's just a change, and we've got to then incorporate that change into the dashboard. And we also really experienced some limited standardized testing of those ACTs and SATs last spring. So we're working on getting all that in. One of the things that we've really focused on and worked with learning and teaching is what does it look like to be on the path to readiness as a 9th and 10th grader, because you don't always have an AP course as a 9th grader. So we've worked backwards and kind of looked back to see, and so these are the proposed indicators that we would like to start incorporating for the 9th and 10th graders so that we can see that they're on track to be college and career ready. So we have that they're enrolled in an advanced course. It's not just AP or dual. It's that you're on the path to be an AP or dual. We're going to pull in the 10th grade PSAT scores. 9th grade, we're going to use their prior year PSAT 8. If 9th graders have successfully completed Algebra 1, if 10th graders have successfully completed geometry, because that's that pathway to Algebra 2. Career readiness, we're going to look at that you're enrolled in the CTE courses on a pathway to be at that end professional level course. And so that's kind of that piece, and that you have certifications involved. So we're going to try to pull all of those pieces in for our careers. Just as a considerations to keep in mind, right now we're really looking at a first 9-week set of data because we're still working to roll over that second 9 weeks. We are kind of limited at those lower grades, 6th, 7th, 9th, 10th, and so that's why we're looking at kind of expanding. And then just that virtual learning piece required a lot more reconfiguration. Our future updates, in March, I plan to return to talk about middle of year House Bill 3 goals and our progress, and then we will come back around the dashboards in June. And so with that, are there any questions?
Does any trustee have any questions? Ms. Prosnick?
I'm on the what you're considering for the high school dashboard going forward. Ms. Sells and I attended, and I'm going to get the session wrong, but we attended a session where they talked about one of the indicators for success. And one of the indicators, and it was a surprise to me, but one of the ones was an advanced science course. And so I know, and Algebra 1 is also been an indicator in how successful you are in Algebra 1. So I guess I would ask to look into that as well, because it is something that has been, the people a lot smarter than me have looked at, but that I would ask that we kind of look at that as well beyond just what everybody else does, because we're better than that.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Cox?
Well, I'm just going to say a huge shout out and thank you. I know this is a lot of work for you guys. So my first question is who inputs all this data?
So most of it is currently in Skyward, and it's just us mapping it into. So remember when we went out for an RFP and we decided on this project, we spent a year getting it up and running and getting it all mapped. And then we added a whole second pathway, and so now we're remapping. But it's all in Skyward. It's just getting it linked up correctly.
Moved over. Okay, well, that's good. So I love your idea about the 10 hours of community service, well-being, post-secondary engagement, extracurricular activities, which I think is one of our superintendent goals, is to get the students engaged in some activity, which it's proven that when kids are engaged, they make friends and they meet people, and it proves success. So when do you hope to implement this, and how does the virtual piece play into that? Because I think it's real important that we engage our virtual students and they feel a part of our campus and feel connected in some way being at home.
So I think that's why we're starting with classes that have the extracurricular, because they're in the Skyward system and they're easier for us to pull the data. We have plans and we have ways to try to pull in the ones that aren't, but we've kind of had to pump the brakes because of some virtual pieces and not being able to meet as groups. We're trying to explore a definition for what that means. I mean, there's just a lot of pieces, as we kind of discussed in other settings. How do you define what is the non-class related extracurricular? How do we gather the data? So we're having those conversations. We got a little slowed in them because we had to, I heard that the word pivot was overused this year, but we pivoted to trying to report COVID data accurately. And so we're now circling back and coming back to answering those questions so we can make sure that all of our students are engaged.
Mr. Miller?
Yeah, to piggyback off Ms. Cox, I remember, I think Dr. Rogers and I went into an NSB session once or something in San Antonio where same type of thing. If you can get kids engaged, not just during the day, but in particular around 3 to 5, it has a very positive impact on a lot of things and less negative impact on a lot of things. If this were a normal year, and it's not, this is in our campus improvement plans. And so it seems to me there would be an opportunity for spot audits. Pick a campus, go look at the 10 clubs that they've got, look at participation as against the whole student population. Now, I don't know how they're doing it today. So it's not a fair request to say, hey, could you guys go do an audit and just give us some updates, just do spot audits. But there's got to be something, I would assume, some campuses are doing that are creative that at some point when you guys are presenting, maybe share with us. For example, we know that LHS has a phenomenal block schedule lunch program where they do clubs. It's probably pretty modified right now. Other campuses have tried to model that because Ms. Stamey tends to set the bar. And the other campus has done a really good job of promoting more participation. So just at some point, this may not reflect what could be happening in an unusual year, but it might be good for us, for our artification, to hear just some stories about that.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Miller, that is one of the board goals as far as students participating in extracurricular and co-curricular. This year was initially meant to be a baseline year. I think the goal, and I don't have it in front of me, was by 2025, I think 95% of our students would. And so you're right, this year's hurt us as far as trying to find a baseline, but I appreciate Dr. Fitzhugh and her group working with the high school and middle school principals and others trying to collect as much data as possible. So we absolutely believe this is an important goal.
Maybe we'll go easy on that goal.
I appreciate that.
Okay, Ms. Hassett?
I also want to go back to the new indicators for ninth and 10th, algebra 1 and geometry. So are you saying by the end of ninth grade, algebra 1 will be, or at the beginning of ninth grade, algebra 1 will be, what is the beginning or end of the year?
So what we'll end up doing is ultimately it's for them to have successfully completed it. And so since we're on the accelerated block, we'll be able to get some at semester and then the rest at the end of the year. We also have a lot of ninth graders who complete algebra as eighth graders.
Right.
So I think we will, the goal will be when the course is completed. So end of their semester, not the end of our calendar year, end of the student's course.
So, Dr. Fitzhugh, would that mean that you would start, to Ms. Hassett's, that you would start the year with some of those students already having completed?
Yes.
Like some of that would already be green, so to speak?
Yes, okay. We should have, depending on the campus, a lot of our students complete algebra as eighth graders.
So I agree that ninth grade is kind of sad compared to the rest of the dashboard. Is there any thought about just rolling ninth grade into the rest of it and not pulling it out as a separate entity? Or do you still is it helpful to have it as a separate?
Well, it's all part of the school. It all rolls up. I hear like the ninth grade schools. Is that what you're saying? The ones that just have ninth grade?
Yes.
It's just the nature. We'd have to recalibrate to have them. We could have them feed into their 10 to 12 and be a part of the percentage. But I think really it's just more of a knowledge point for us to know that ninth grade number looks a little bit different because of the nature of they're just starting their path to college career ready. So we could recalibrate if it is something that it's bothering you that it looks that way, but in terms of it's just a data point and we know why it looks that way is kind of my take on it.
Especially after the new indicators are added, it'll start to look more full. And then another question, probably for Dr. Rapp, how are our TIP campuses using the dashboard throughout the year? Because they just noticed some of the data on some of the TIP campuses, and how are they using that to help evaluate their students and help the students throughout the year?
So on what the campuses have access to, obviously, is their discipline data, their STAR data. In terms of the readiness components, remind me, Dr. Fitzhugh,
the elementaries have their iStation data in there as well. They also have access to some of the grade reports.
So whether they're looking at their data on Edugence or they're possibly looking at their iStation, they're looking at STAR and Edugence or STAR and Aware. We're still between data systems at this time, and so of course their CBAs would go into Aware and not into Edugence. So they're managing multiple data systems still. Okay.
Is there any other comments or questions? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Fitzhugh. Okay, moving on, Dr. Rapp to Reading Academies update.
Yes, so Ms. Gall and Amy Teddy are coming up to make this presentation. So it's been a little bit since we all saw you, since Reading Academies became required. Also in the audience, we have Ginger Terry and Myrna Ficaro. And I don't know if they'll end up having to say anything this evening, but I appreciate them being here and all the work that they're doing on Reading Academies as well.
All right, thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to come back in front of you and share an update on how it's going with the Reading Academies. And as Dr. Rapp mentioned, the two ladies in the audience are cohort leaders who've been going through their own training and have some really good experiences and can also be a support to us if you have any questions when we finish. So just a recall slide for you. Back in March, we did present to you an update on House Bill 3 as it related to the Reading Academies requirement. We did opt to implement in phases, with phase 1 launching, it began in June, with about 70 participants, representative of all of the campuses as well as district leadership. We wanted to give ourselves some time for phase 2 and 3 based on our experience in phase 1 to make sure that we were making the appropriate decisions for our teachers moving forward. As a part of House Bill 3 Reading Academies, the participants, just as a refresher for you, have to include all K through 3rd grade teachers and principals. It does include, we've had some clarifications as we've gone along, it's including bilingual, ESL, special education, our LASs, our GT teachers, our dyslexia specialists, our title coaches, and our specials other than art, PE, and music. So any specials such as STEM would be included in that so far, as what they're telling us. That leads us to approximately 1,240 LISD employees who are in need of the Reading Academies. The timeline for completion has been adjusted a little bit. Now we need all of these employees to complete the Reading Academies by the summer of 2023. It takes 11 months to complete, or that's what the time frame you're given to complete it. The academies will continue for new principals and teachers beyond 2023 in order to support new hires and others who might move to other grade levels. The training was to be 60 plus hours. We are finding that it's taking a little bit longer. Amy will cover some of that. It's an online Canvas course that it does include artifact submission by the teachers, and all teachers must meet the criteria for passing at 80%. So our phase 1, just to recap, started with 70 plus participants, including 4 administrators, 64 in the blended model that was offered, and 2 taking the comprehensive, which are 2 ladies behind us today. And the ESC Region 11 is our authorized provider. So those cohort leaders provided through Region 11 are the ones who score and train our staff. And we were wanting to evaluate that experience and the content with them leading us to get us started. But during this time, our cohort leaders have been preparing to become those leaders of our district. So we wanted to make sure that we were clear on the decision points that would help us determine our next steps. Those included determining whether we wanted an in-district approach or if we wanted to continue to use the Region Service Center, whether we wanted to go with the face-to-face or the online or a combination of both. And this year has been providing us with the online experience versus any face-to-face. And we've been able to evaluate the course content and the time commitments to give you feedback. And we wanted to determine the best alignment to meet our district goals and our district curriculum and expectations in-house as well. So Amy's going to share with you some of the Phase 1 takeaways that we've experienced through feedback from the teachers as well as our team.
Okay, so a little bit about the course itself. It is a Canvas course, just like we have, but it's through TEA. It contains 12 modules, including videos, graphics, pre-test, post-test, a lot of reading. It has a lot of resources to go through and reflections, and then it has 2 major artifacts, one in the middle of the year and one at the end. There are over 1,000 pages in each of the different pathways, so that's why it's taken more time to complete than the 60 hours. Along with those pages are lots of activities to do. So the cohort leaders through Region 11, they do provide optional preview and reviews of each of the modules, but those are optional through Zoom. And then they provide feedback on the discussion questions and the artifacts. And those are the ones that you have to meet 80% accuracy on, or you have to make corrections. So input from the teachers in our team, we do believe that the content and learning is valuable and applicable to meeting our teacher and student needs. And our teachers have found the resources and videos beneficial, and we are seeing those in our classrooms. So with any new training or online course, we are seeing some minor glitches to the technology and concerns with the Reading Academy content, but it's not enough to interfere with the learning. So after engaging in the blended pathway and the comprehensive pathway, we are recommending that all our admin and teachers go through the blended pathway. We can use our in-district cohort leaders to support them, basically the same way the comprehensive pathway uses the cohort leaders. But with the comprehensive, they have to be out of the classroom for 10 days and an additional 4 coaching sessions. So it's just a lot more out of the classroom. We can partner with our LA curricular teams regarding instructional implications and continuing professional learning. And we want to guide and support our teachers through pacing content knowledge, the registration process, and successful completion. So looking forward to our Phase 2 for local implementation, we'll provide cohort leaders to score, train, and support LISD staff through the TEA Reading Academy. We'll have the blended model only with 600 participants, which means each of our cohort leaders will have 200 participants. It's a lot of grading. So our participants for next year would be an administrator from each campus, all first grade teachers, all third grade teachers, all title coaches, all losses, and some of our special education staff members. So with our cohort leaders, we can support our teachers with consistency in the pacing, training, and scoring, collaboration between the Reading Academy and our curriculum and programs, and professional learning to support our participants. So here's our estimated costs for Phase 2 and Phase 3, which includes our 3 cohort leaders, our Region 11 authorized provider costs. There is no participant cost because we're using our own cohort leaders, and then our teacher stipends, which has been beneficially motivating for our teachers, so thank you for that. And then our total estimated 2-year cost. Our phase 2 is pretty much set because we'll have 600 participants, but phase 3 will reflect our staff in year 3, how many teachers we have left and which new teachers come in. So as part of our next steps, some immediate things we need to do. First of all, we do want you to recognize that if we were to recommend and go with the Region Service Center solely, we would have been upwards of $3 million. Our implementation of the stipend has been very beneficial and is necessary considering the amount of hours on top of the fact that we also give them the trade credit learning. So we are wanting to hire and get started with the hiring of a third cohort leader, since it will take 3 in order to do 600 at a time. We have to submit an MOU with Region 11. They still have to be the provider. They're just not scoring and grading, so we don't pay them a per teacher fee anymore with this process. They would attend the cohort leader training in the spring, so they're officially certified to do this job, but in-house as LASD employees. We'll set dates for registration, orientation, and provide teachers with a very clear pacing guide to keep them on track. That's been very helpful and necessary this year. We'll be able to hold informational meetings with campus administration and Reading Academy participants in April or May to get them prepared. And then we want to work with employee services. We've already started some of that. Amy has been partnering with them on tracking completion so that we can upload certificates and know who is qualified to teach K through 3, because you will have to have this in order to teach kinder through 3rd by the time this ends. And then we have to register the Reading Academy participants. Those are our main next steps. So we have some teacher experience examples for you guys. Sherry Smith is a teacher at Forest Vista. She teaches kindergarten in English, and so she's been working on using her learning from the Reading Academy to build a literacy community in her classroom. The first picture is of her family tree, and what this does is it builds home-to-school connections, and the first skill of building a literacy community is student identity of self and their family, so this brings that in. And then the second picture is a picture of a bulletin board where they've done a reader's response to a book called Looking at Me, and they've shared more about themselves, which again adds multicultural literacy, celebrating diversity, and building that third skill of the literacy community. So for instruction, this is a picture of a student working in his writing journal after he's been instructed on letter sounds, and he was able to write complete sentences in kindergarten. So Sharon Jacobek is a 3rd grade teacher at Wellington, and she said, the Academy has definitely impacted my class in many positive ways. I've seen reading gains in all of my students, but especially in my struggling readers. Every learner has different needs, and the Reading Academy covers them all. After completing 3/4 of the course, I've spent approximately 60 hours and find it labor intensive. Using the professional learning days for the Reading Academy is very helpful. She also said it's very similar to her master's level course. So they should all get masters after this course. And Giovanna De Luna, she is a SIP teacher that teaches Spanish 3rd grade at Wellington. And she said, being a part of the Reading Academy, I have learned how to help my sequential bilingual learners in my classroom using various resources and strategies from the course. My Region 11 cohort leader has been a great help through this academy by being accessible and providing feedback on my artifact. And just so you know, our 2 LASD cohort leaders have also provided trainings and opportunities and helped several of our teachers with their artifact as well. They're using the Region 11 resources, creating their own, and they're attending the Region 11 think tanks to start learning about how to score the content through the Reading Academy and provide that support. Questions?
Does any trustees have any questions or comments? Ms. Lasan?
Thank you for your presentation. So I do have a question, a couple things that I think more just sort of staff-wise of how this will look. So, I know it's fairly common in elementary school especially, for teachers to move, grade levels. So I feel like this might hinder that a little bit, cause issue, like how are you going to deal with that if, at a campus, someone in 3rd, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so That's absolutely right. Principals are going to have to lock in their staff as far as, hey, we can't send a future kinder teacher to this training and then them decide to move them to fourth grade. I
Right.
mean, those are the kind of things I think you're referring to.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely. We're going to have to make sure elementary principals understand that, and that discussion's already happened, but I promise you, we'll continue to reinforce that.
Okay. Then the second question that I had is, so I know that for the bulk of all this training, we think will be done at the end of the year 3, right?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
so we already have, and so you have the 3 cohort leaders. We've already hired 2, correct? Were these positions that we already had, that we've just sort of moved, had said, hey, you're the cohort leader now, or was this a completely new position?
They were newly established positions after this discussion last year. Yes.
So my question then is will we really have the need for the 3 positions after the 3 years is over? I mean, I'm guessing we'll always kind of have a smaller group that needs to go through this, but.
I don't anticipate that we'll need 3 cohort leaders in the future after we get through the bulk of the staff.
Okay. So my question then is, what are you going to tell this third person that you hire,
We're going to tell them that we're going to use their expertise somewhere, I promise.
Okay. Well,
Absolutely.
good. That's good then. Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Hessett?
I wanted to commend your staff. It's been an incredible year to have to implement this, and I think you have gone above and beyond, and I'm excited about what it could do for our students, but this has been a tremendous effort in a normal year, let alone any other year. And the TEA commissioner did not provide any kind of waiver for the reading academies, whether it's delaying it or any monetary
Appreciate that recognition of that, because there were not any concessions made in getting this off the ground, and our teachers have just been troopers, and the administrators have been supporting them along the way. And there have been some that it's been a struggle. This has been a lot to handle, and they have continued on and persevered.
Well, we definitely greatly appreciate it, because COVID was enough to throw at the teachers.
Absolutely.
And then having the commissioner not waive the reading academies for this year.
In hindsight, we are very grateful for the Phase 170 versus 300.
So thank you.
Ms. Cox?
Well, I too want to extend a sincere thank you and kudos to the teachers for doing this. It's been a trying year just trying to keep afloat of educating our children, which is first and foremost. My question is how do you provide, the Canvas give an avenue or some avenue to provide feedback back to TEA on the modules, what type of training and how they can enhance what they're learning? And then my second question was, do they address language barriers and how to provide for all of our students in the reading academies?
So after every module, there's a survey for the participants to take, and you can put anything in there. It asks you for specifics. You can tell them what slide it's on. So if we see content that doesn't sound right, or if a video doesn't work, I think I've had like 1, maybe 2 videos not work, we can put that in there. Also, Ginger and Myrna are keeping a very detailed spreadsheet and sending that to their cohort leaders, and they have assured me they're sending that to TEA so that they can look into any of those concerns that we're seeing. And then your second. Oh, so there are there's 3 pathways. There's the administrator pathway, the English pathway, and the biliteracy. The English pathway does address ESL needs, and then the biliteracy pathway is for Spanish. So it is longer. It has almost everything that the English pathway has, plus it has the Spanish in there. And so Myrna is taking that one. She has a lot to do. So those teachers, like you said, that are doing the biliteracy right now on top of everything else they're doing, it's a lot. And some have more activities than others.
And I would like, maybe after the questions are done, I would like to hear from the 2, to hear the impact. And, I think it's great to see the slides, but I just want to make sure it's impactful for, the time and that they're taking to do that.
Ms. Prosnick?
It's a lot of work. And so my question is actually almost the opposite of Ms. Lasson's, which is one cohort leader for 200. Is that the right ratio? I mean, I'm looking at what we did this year, and I know this year, of course, we certainly learned a lot, et cetera, but you're more than tripling.
So their stipulation is there not be more than 200. So we were being as conservative as possible. These ladies could probably speak to whether or not it's manageable. It will be their primary role, as well as trying to help us to figure out how it can be incorporated and best integrated into our curriculum so that it is a smooth process and it's not two separate things going on. So I can let them address that, but we are happy to begin the process and see how it goes, because year 3 we may say that was way too many and we need more assistance, but it's something we're definitely going to have to give it a go and try and see what we can do. But I'm happy for them to address that too.
Some of the current Region 11 cohort leaders have up to almost 300. I'm Ginger Terry, by the way. They have up to almost 300, and from what we have heard from them, they are struggling tremendously because it is, for each participant, let's just say there's one artifact that's due this month. It's a 2-minute video. If you just take 300 participants times just watching that many 2-minute videos, plus providing the feedback and possibly asking them to resubmit, or correct or resubmit the video, and then providing additional feedback and so forth and so on. So the work has been cumbersome from what we have heard for those cohort leaders that have those large groups. And so our hope was, with having 200, that we could do the job as a cohort leader and hopefully also really be able to provide more of that personalized LISD, those connections to our LISD curriculum and content, as well as, some kind of extra professional development and ongoing literacy community that comes out of this learning for this year. And what were your other questions specifically for us that you wanted to hear?
Wanted to get your feedback.
Me personally, I've been in the district 22 years. I have a range of positions that I've been through. The content is absolutely valuable. There's information. I can't say that I haven't been through a module. It's broken into 12 modules. I've been through 9 of the modules. I can't say there's been a day where I haven't learned something new, even with 22 years of experience. And so I think the content is valuable. I definitely know, having worked as a facilitator, I think for some teachers, a lot of this content will be new if you don't have a master's level reading certification. A lot of this content will be new, and I think it's absolutely valuable in the classroom with what they can do with students. And that's going to be our goal, and our mission is to make sure that teachers aren't just going through the course, but that they have time to implement the learning that they're getting from the course. So it's absolutely valuable. It's taking a significant amount of time, and we are fortunate in that it's part of our job this year, to go through that academy so we can sit uninterrupted and work through it. So my heart goes out to all the teachers who are having to do this, after hours, on the weekends, so forth and so on. So the content is absolutely worth it. I wish there was a way to spread it out so that it didn't all have to be done in an 11-month time period. But we'll see what comes after, this year and how it goes, and, we'll see if TEA makes any changes. So, and then Myrna I'm going through the English only. Myrna's going through the biliteracy, which has even more work than the English does.
And Myrna has her master's in reading.
Yes. So as far as the content, I can honestly say, even though I have my master's in reading and early literacy for K through 2, I've learned things through this course. Is it perfect? Well, not perfect, but it's really good information. It does take a long time. The biliteracy is definitely more intensive, I think. You're required to do the English along with the Spanish. So there's a lot more, you have more artifacts, you have more discussion questions. The discussion questions aren't things that you can just kind of breeze through it. You really have to put some thought process into responding because they are graded. But it's definitely beneficial, and I really hope that LISD will continue to further this after the 11th month time frame for the course, because it's a lot of information.
That does kind of bring me to a question. So after you've completed, and I know you will be successful, I have no doubts, and you get your certification, is there any requirement for continued learning to maintain the certification, or is it a one and done? And and by the way, we may not know that. I mean, I'm just.
At this time, TEA does not have any further requirements on the number of hours to maintain or anything like that. Once you've passed the course, you've passed the course. Our
Not
goal,
trying to add more hours for you. I'm looking beyond 2 to 3 years,
I
what
would
that
say,
is going to look like.
We have some really good foundations already established in our curriculum and our frameworks. It all supports all of the learning they have. So it's going to be up to us to make sure all of our annual trainings that we provide continue to focus in on those messages that already complement what we have in place.
I was just going to add, I feel like what our team currently does is the implementation piece, which is what the teachers will need after the knowledge, but this just gives so much more background knowledge on the foundations of literacy, so it'll work together very nicely.
How kids learn how do you teach kids?
Mr. Miller?
Thank you for all the good work on this. As Amy and Adrian know, I'm not talking to you guys. There's some technical things that jump out at me. And you've done great work on this, and we have to do it. But what it suggests to me is that there's this compulsory responsibility that we have by an agency that we really don't give high regard to, that what they have said about reading, when we have already established reading programs, being on grade level at third grade or showing 6 months progress, that all of a sudden they've come up with something that's fantastic. It's going to cost us about $3 million. I assume they're not funding that, or it's wrapped into some model. But what I hear is all the great things about it, and what concerns me, with no disrespect, so what about what we were doing? As a matter of fact, I would say the bigger problem is what's in phase 2, is the Title I campuses, which is a bigger concern for me. I'm not concerned about Wellington or Flowermont Elementary. It would be, how does this impact Rockbrook or Lewisville Elementary or some of those other schools? And we won't see that till phase 2. Second thing is stipends. Just rough math shows those stipends are about $2,000 a piece. Of course people would want to do that, teacher. Average teacher makes about $65,000 in the district. Dr. Rogers doesn't even get more than $2,000 for his superintendent stipend, neither does Dr. Rapp. It's a lot of money to put towards this. And when I hear, with no disrespect, right, because you guys know that I'm up here championing raises every year, they love this and they love the stipend. It's when teachers love to do what they do and they're getting extra money, and it's not organic, right, where it's $2,000. That's a lot of money for the average teacher relative to other stipends across the district. So I'm concerned about that, and Dr. Rapp, maybe we can address that separately. I mean, the whatever you call them, cohort leaders, that average is about $76,000. And think about that against an average teacher, and they won't be needed through the entire thing. I mean, I would run to one of these jobs if I was an average teacher, and I would run to the program to improve myself, my own results, as well as get the $2,000. Those are the things that kind of I'm stuck on, right? Now, as it relates to the qualitative nature, what are we putting in place for a rubric to measure the results at every campus? And I'm talking Title I to our best campuses. Is there something that you guys are putting together now that you have in place? Is the state giving you something like that? Have you looked at the nuances between campuses? Because the implementation on a campus level, because we've got campuses here that are starting to approach tips again, that's pretty dramatic. And so I'm just curious how we're going to do all of that in the next year and then get to phase 2. it seems like when we look at board goals and superintendent goals, and these are unachievable, right? The task that you guys have to do relative to House Bill 3, the task you've been assigned to do, because I'm not speaking to you, Adrian, right? I'm speaking to the issue, seems to be unmeasurable and unachievable. But yet there's a lot of euphoria. Euphoria that the state has come up with a way to improve reading scores, yet the local control we had wasn't sufficient. I'm stuck on that.
I think that, when we presented last early spring or fall, it all runs together, we were not for sure, while this is required by law, we were uncertain what was going to be the quality of what would be put together. And we're skeptical at best. While there has been good projects come out of TEA over the years, some math work back in the 90s when I was a teacher, that's a long time ago now, right? But there were some good things with text teams and things like that were put together from a professional learning perspective, but we truly did not know what would they put together in response to this legal requirement, which is why, as a district, we did make that recommendation to start with only 70 participants, because we wanted to figure out, what is this going to be like? Is it going to be equivalent to what we teach our teachers here? Because if it isn't, that definitely impacts the conversation that we would be having with you all today. And while we can't get out of the legal requirement, we would be saying, look, we're going to have to not only do the work of making people go through this, but then we're going to have to double back on, oh yeah, the things you're learning in this, we don't want you to do those things because that's not what's best for instruction. So fortunately, if you will, I don't categorize it as euphoria. I categorize it as lemonade out of lemons. I don't often get the sayings right. That what they are learning is good, research-based things that we were working on from a professional learning perspective. Were we going to compact the expectation like TEA has done with our teachers? No. We take our professional learning a little bit more in bite-sized chunks that people can swallow. That's the thing I would say, if TEA could make any adjustments or there could be any changes to these legal requirements. We're finding that the content is good. We're finding that it aligns with what is best practice about reading. We're finding that the amount of it is in a compressed time is way too much. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah, and let me add something, Mr. Miller. I get the $2,000 stipend, but when you, as it was reported, it takes anywhere from 60, which is what TEA said, 60 hours, but it ends up taking 100 to 120 hours. If my math is right, that's less than $20 an hour that we're paying teachers during COVID to go above and beyond. I think that's a bargain, and I don't know that many of them are running to have to do this. I think if they had the choice of whether or not to go through Reading Academy or not, whether it was $2,000 or not, they say no thank you, particularly this year and probably next year. So, and then, even the facilitators, 76,000 compared to 65, but these folks are working year round because that's when all the training happens in the summer. So that's why those folks probably deserve more than 76,000, to be honest with you. But I get it. Once again, this is an unfunded mandate by the state from TEA. I'm glad that to be honest with you, I'm just glad to hear that it's a worthwhile effort. Because I think we'd be worse off if our folks said, this is a big waste of our time, and yet we still had to train 1,200 staff to do it because that's what TEA says. So yeah. I get the concerns, but I'm happy to hear that they see some merit.
Yeah, so let me close with this. I mean, first of all, Amy and Adrian, ladies, if anybody's going to do it, I'm glad it's got you guys, right? So to be clear, and I'm not a penny pincher. So the $2,000, just running rough math, think of the average teacher would take an extra $2,000, and probably the gentleman that was here earlier would take $2,000, right, for the extra 10 days. just, as from a fiduciary perspective, thinking about that. I just don't like that the state comes up with something that's better than what we've done, because we've done some really good things. But nevertheless, if that's the case, and it's better for our students, that's the most important thing.
So I think that, as everyone has shared here, the skepticism was real in the beginning, because we never think anyone can do it better than our own staff. And I still believe that. I could put any one of our team members from our language arts team, and they could have knocked this out of the park too. But since we were required to do it, we definitely want to make sure that it's a positive experience and that it lives. I've been there when we were given CD-ROMs to do online trainings back in the day, and those die to death very quickly. So if we feel it is our charge, if mandated to do this, that we find a way that it serves children in the best possible way that aligns with our district goals, our campus goals, and does move the reading abilities of our students forward so that by the time they're in middle school, they don't have these struggles. At the primary grades is where we're going to catch kids, and all of our principals being able to go through this as well just establishes more accountability for what we expect reading to look like in each classroom.
Thank you. And with that, I would say I'm also elated that you're not using the ESC. I think they're a hammer looking for a nail. I don't like the fact that we use them for IT. I don't like the fact that we use them for a lot. When they were defunded, they basically sell to everybody, including those who are competitors of ours. So I would always prefer, even if it was more money, that it'd be us. Stay within the family and use our experts who we know and trust and we can manage within the culture of LISD versus, and I know there's times we have to use them, but just not a fan. Again, I think they're a hammer looking for a nail. Thank you, guys. Great job.
Ms. Hassett?
One more thing, Mr. Miller. The difference between the reading academies, iStation results is the end result of the reading. The reading academies really is something that our legislature needs to make sure that higher education and teacher certification programs do a better job of. That's really and truly where it should have started, rather than trying to start at the school level. They needed to include higher education in this, and they haven't really addressed the higher education piece of that, because we can't continue to play catch up for things that should be taught in higher education and our teaching. So this is really going to be the training, professional development. The science of reading is different than the language acquisition specialist's job to teach reading. This is to get to point A to point B. It's a training that our teachers get to understand how to teach our kids to read, not the strategies to do so.
Great. Thank you for that clarification.
Are there any other comments or questions? Okay. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you all.
We'll move on to our discussion items. Mr. Youngs, you're up first.
Evening, board members. If you turn to page 48 of your board book, you'll find the financial statement for the 3 months ending November 30th. Focus your attention on the second column from the right. That is the actual. You'll notice the general fund is at the top. For the first 3 months of the school year, we've had revenue of $54.5 million. Go down to the bottom of the functions. You'll notice we've spent $122 million. So spending more than you bring in is not something you do unless you have lots of fund balance, which we have. So we're in a deficit of $68 million, and that's right where we were a year ago at this time. We're at the same place as we were a year ago. This illustrates the need rather perfectly for school districts to have a fund balance to use to take care of themselves before their property tax revenue starts to come in January and February, which ours will do. So the general fund, $54 million in revenue, $122 in expenditure, $68 million deficit. That is normal for this time of year. Next is the child nutrition fund, revenue of $4.8 million. We spent $4.5. We had earnings of $300,000. Last year at this time, that was $1 million. That just reflects that we have a lot fewer students on campus eating lunch with us. Still, we're cash flow positive. Next is the debt service fund. We have $10 million of interest earnings on our idle money. Haven't had any expenditures this year. We pay principal and interest to our bondholders in February and August. So you'll start to see some things happen there when we report through the end of February. So that concludes a quick summary of the finances through November. If you turn now to page 55, indicates the yield that we're having on our investments. We're yielding 13/100%. Still better than the 180-day Treasury bill, but not by much. Interest rates are starting to tick up a tiny bit just in the last few days. We think that might create a little bit of a trend, but interest rates, as dictated by the Federal Reserve, still going to be very low. That concludes my financial report for this month. Are there any questions?
Does any board member have any questions? Ms. Cox?
Hi, Mr. Youngs. Thank you for your report. I do have a question about several people have obviously been disputing their taxes, and there have been delays with the appraisal district on getting that through and approved. So I'm just wondering if that's affecting funds to our school district.
Not yet. I've talked to the appraisal district. Just to frame the conversation with the board and the public, 60% of our property tax base is residential. Residential right now in our school district is very strong. Houses are selling at market. If you don't put an offer in at market or at the asking price, you're not getting that house. So houses are still selling briskly. The appraisal district suggests that probably the increase for us in the residential part of our district property tax base, 7 to 10% for next year. That's very encouraging. Commercial, meaning apartments, multifamily, that's not as strong as individual residential. It's still strong, about 5% growth there, they think. Retail, office, hotels, that's where the trouble is for obvious reasons. So that's going to be flattened down a tiny bit. So based on the fact that 60% of our property tax base is residential, and that is up strongly, I think we'll have a net percent gain in property values. Now, when the residences are going up in value like that, that's going to create a ton of protests. That's going to impact us. It's just a little too early to know how much that impact will be.
Okay, Mr. Miller?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Youngs. Kind of like Dr. Rogers talked about at the beginning with the things that the legislature is going to be considering, some bills that have already been filed, some not. I just think it's worth saying this every single month, that the legislature, being led on education by Chairman Huberty, believes that that fund balance should be sufficient. $9 billion of fund balance across ISDs in Texas. The state has $6 billion in its fund balance. So there's a predisposition to say, going forward, use that money. And we're already going to use what, 38 million?
68 million.
68 million that we don't get to keep in our taxes. And I know some of you as well. I've gotten emails from people upset about their taxes. We spend this wrong. Oh, you're trying to keep a fund balance so you can keep your bond ratings high. Some of that's true, but we're trying to keep it to be responsible. And just the legislature has got us on a limb right now as it relates to this and what they're going to do. And we need to continue to fight it with vigor, along with the instructional issues and along with the governance issues and the curriculum issues. This is a very important thing because I actually expect they're going to make us use that money in this year. They're going to hold us harmless, and then they're going to say, we held you harmless through 2021, and we need you to pay up. And so I just think it's good for the public to continue to hear that this is a risk to us, and it's money we don't get to keep. We're sending back so somebody else can use it to build some big wave pond that we don't get in our district. These are true statements, right? So
we use our fund balance to meet payroll and to pay vendors on time.
Well, and I would just say that, Mr. Miller, it's an excellent point that, first off, House Bill 3 was a step in the right direction for the state of Texas to pay their fair share of public education. In LISD, local taxpayers before last year were paying 80% of the bill. And yet it's a requirement by the state constitution that public education be a state requirement. And so it's moved closer to 60%, but that's still not even 50-50. And so, you know, our fund balance is our savings account, like anyone else has a savings account. We need to have 3 months at least balance to be a, you know, worthwhile financial organization. We have a little more than that, but that is local taxpayer money. If they take or make us use our fund balance because they won't foot the bill, they're taking local taxpayer money, the same as they do when they make us pay recapture. So it's something we absolutely need to make clear to our local taxpayers and to our legislators.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Youngs. Moving on to action items. Mr. Youngs, you're up again. And I think actually.
Mr. Fight will come forward and.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Sells, Dr. Rogers, and the board. So tonight we're bringing an action item for the approval of the guaranteed maximum price for the Facility Services Center renovation, formerly known as the Dell Jackson Center Career Center renovation project. A few bullet points on this. Stantec is the architect. Poe Construction is the construction manager at risk, and the GMP process has been presented to the board previously. Poe advertised and bid this project to subcontractors. Those bids have been reviewed and scoped out for this project for best value, and a GMP has been presented by Poe Construction. The GMP is $4,798,132. That GMP is within our budget, and this project was part of the 2017 bond package. So with that, I'd love to answer any questions you may have.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Fight? Seeing no questions, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll do it.
Ms. Hassan, thank you.
I move that the board approve the guaranteed maximum price of $4,798,132 for the LISD Facility Services Renovation Project by Pogue Construction, and that the superintendent, chief financial officer, or executive director of procurement and contracts be authorized to sign any documents to implement this action.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Cox. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously, 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wright. Okay, moving on to Dr. Rapp.
Yes, so when it comes to the 2021-22 academic calendar, we did share information with you about the results of our survey. Option A received 54.02% of the vote, and option B 45.98. Dr. Miller and Dr. Fitzhugh, of course, are both here to answer any additional questions you have about this item and the different options.
Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Prosnick, thank you.
I move that the board approve proposed academic calendar option A for the 2021-2022 school year.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Hassett. All in favor? Say aye. Motion carries unanimously again, 6-0. Thank you. Moving on, Dr. Rogers.
Thank you, Ms. Sells. So, board, we've discussed numerous boundary adjustments, and this one was discussed several months ago at a board work session about making adjustments for the hills of Kingswood. If you remember, there's only one way into that community and one way out, and it's not close to B.B. Owen. And so, anyway, we ask that the board approve this adjustment.
Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Rogers? Ms. Prosnick?
I would just ask that we look at all of our boundaries and make sure that we don't have these little pieces of land hanging out. This will be the second time we've had to adjust because of that. And I would just ask that we look especially in those boundaries where we have some of that vacant land, so that we can make the adjustment one time and we don't have to keep coming back to it.
Any other questions or comments? Would someone like to make the motion? Ms. Cox, thank you.
I move that the board approve the proposed boundary adjustment for the Hills of Kingswood subdivision as recommended by administration.
Do I have a second? Mr. Miller, I saw your hand first. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Dr. Rogers?
Moving right along, so the next one is for the board to consider the boundary adjustments due to the retirement of Stewart's Creek Elementary. I appreciate the board's attendance at the 4 different meetings that we had in the community. There was very little attendance at those meetings, and so we just ask that you approve, one, the closing or the retirement of Stewart's Creek Elementary School at the end of this year and the boundary adjustments related to that.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments? Ms. Cox?
First of all, I want to make a comment. The principal is actually sitting here in the audience. I just want to thank you for all that you do and your leadership on the campus. It is greatly appreciated, and these decisions aren't because of leadership or any of those reasons. So sincere appreciations to you and your team. And then I would just like to reiterate again to Dr. Rogers, as I asked earlier, is that we allow the same that we did for Hedrick, even under a COVID situation, that we make the parents, the teachers and staff feel like they were able to close the campus and feel a part of that, and the new campuses that they might be going to, the kids.
Ms. Cox will absolutely make sure that happens, and that's something that we've already discussed.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Cox. Is there any other questions or comments? Would someone like to make that motion? Ms. Cox?
I move that the board approve the recommendation to retire Stewart's Creek Elementary at the close of the 2020-21 school year and approve the accompanying boundary adjustments for elementary schools that feed to the Colony High School.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Hassett. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 6-0.
Moving right along.
You're up again.
Once again, another discussion regarding boundary adjustments was creating boundaries for the new STEM Academy Elementary School on Josie Lane, which hasn't been formally named yet. And while it's not in this motion, I do want to make it clear that in the board action item, under recommendations, it's the recommendation also that all students that are in these areas that are affected, they get to continue to attend their originally zoned middle school and high school, that being Arbor Creek and Hebron High School. So that was something that was part of the recommendation from administration, and I know the board supports that. So just wanted to say that for some clarity's sake.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments? Okay. I do want to say that there has been some discussion on social media that this is open enrollment, but there are boundaries for this campus, and we just want to make that clear that there are boundaries. Open enrollment, but you do have to apply. It's like all of our other STEM academies. You can apply, and as long as there is capacity, those applications will be accepted. But unlike our other STEM, where there's some applications are accepted and maybe not all because of capacity issues. Correct.
Yes, and because it is a STEM academy, there will be parent meetings. I think those start in the next week or so, and you have to attend those, parent information, and then fill out an application. But there absolutely is space, so we look forward to welcoming folks that have applied for the STEM academy.
Great. Would someone like to make that motion if there's no other comments? Ms. Prosnick, thank you.
I move that the board approve the recommended boundary adjustments as presented, creating a new attendance zone for the new STEM Academy Elementary School on Josie Lane.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Hassett. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously, 6-0. Thank you. Dr. Rapp?
Okay, so this is our second round of targeted improvement plans. Unlike reading academies, it's much harder to make lemonade out of these lemons, but we do the very best that we can. I do want to thank the campus leaders, and they're here tonight from these schools to answer any questions that you may have about these plans. These plans are really a continuation of the plans you approved last year. Despite that, we did think bringing them forward for a vote tonight was most important. We'll have another set of plans you'll be seeing next month. It's our last set, and that's our D in a domain plans as well. I was thinking, and Dr. Fitzhugh shared this last year in 2019 in the fall, which seems so long ago now, that there are 28 different ways with 28 different timelines that a school can end up in school improvement, with improvement sanctions on them. And of course, one of y'all's legislative priorities specifically states opposing A to F campus and district ratings. And with these principles here, I just wanted to make that observation about your legislative priority along with Dr. Rogers' update. And they have worked hard to tie these plans to their campus improvement plans. I should have really said that last month about those plans as well. So again, we'll answer any questions you have about these plans this evening.
Ms. Prosnick?
Remind me, Dr. Rapp, since we will not be doing any of the state assessments to count towards a lot of these domains, that these schools will remain in what I like to call the hamster wheel of TEA in regards.
Yes, so right now we'll be doing the assessments, but no accountability ratings will be issued. And we would like to see them get us off the hamster wheel. I don't know, Barry Doster, what you called it earlier. Groundhog Day. We would like to get out of accountability Groundhog Day, but we're fully prepared for that may not happen.
Are there any other questions or comments? Ms. Cox?
So how does that affect Stewart's Creek?
So essentially, Stewart's Creek, I think, Dr. Fitzhugh, would you say what you had found out about that? And it's Andrea Smith's birthday today.
Happy birthday.
So what TEA told me about Stewart's Creek was that when we retired that number, that as long as we document that the students are moving to a campus that has a better rating, that we will be allowed to close that campus, and that's pretty much all that we will need to do. If we were moving them to a campus that did not have a better rating, then there would be some other things that they would want to discuss with us.
Okay, thank you for that question. Anything else? Any other comments or questions? Would someone like to make that motion? Ms. Hassett?
I move that the board approve the 2020-2021 target improvement plans for the Lewisville Learning Center, Lakeview Middle School, Stewart's Creek Elementary School, and Central Elementary School as recommended by administration.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Cox. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously, 6-0. Thank you all. All right. Now, Ms. Smith, you're up.
Yes, good evening. The portion of the CARES Act that provided for emergency paid sick leave that the federal government started in March expired on December 31st. However, COVID-19 did not expire on December 31st, and so we still have a need to provide extended leave for our employees for the remainder of the year due to COVID-19, quarantine, isolation, those types of things. So we're asking for approval of the resolution to extend emergency paid sick leave for the 10 days that has been in the CARES Act for the remainder of the 2021 school year.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments? Mr. Miller?
I was just going to, you've changed a lot of processes here, by the way. Since, no, I think it's a great thing you have, and it's good. It's good. Employees benefit from it, and it keeps us on our toes. I think this is a great gesture for us to do this. I know that as I've had some friends journey through this, as I went through it, and they're still going through it in the hospital, there's some confusion, and, I know your staff will help them with that. I'm sure Dr. Rogers and I have a friend that's going through it, and it's terrible, and, what happens when they come back, because it's more than 10 days. And so I think this is the minimum that we could do is to extend this, given the CARES Act might have ended for, that first phase, but the problem is not. In fact, it's a lot worse. And so thank you for bringing it forward. And I hope we are able to show a lot of flexibility with our employees, especially those that get infected at school, right? And it affects a lot of things because they may be a caregiver for someone, or someone may be a caregiver for them while they're dealing with COVID, because it can take you down. So just, that's a long way of saying thank you for bringing it forward, and let's do it.
Ms. Prosnick?
I was actually reached out to by a couple of trustees from other districts who are not able to do this. And so I want to give kudos to our financial department, and I will piggyback on Mr. Miller's fund balance in that regard, in that we are able to do this, because there are several other districts who can't afford to do this. And so I thank you for bringing it forward, and I think the reason you could bring it forward is because we have had good financial sound advice to date, and because we have the cushion, if you will, a little bit in our fund balance to do it. So thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? Perfect. Would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Prosnick?
I move that the board approve the resolution to extend emergency paid sick leave for the 2020-21 school year as recommended by administration.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Lasan. I saw your hand. All in favor? Motion carries 6-0, unanimous. Okay. If there is no further business, this meeting is adjourned. The time is now 9:05 p.m. Thank you all for attending tonight.